Record. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Zoom call with the Hood River County Chamber of Commerce. Happy Friday. We originally planned this call just to have Greg talk us through just managing through crisis, and then all the stuff with the PPP and the EIDL loan happened where they stopped funding, and so thought that we could take some time because I knew people would have questions to be able to ask Greg from the SBDC and Dylan Morton from KeyBank on what they know, just so you guys could get the lowdown on what's happening. So wanted to be able to give them some time to talk about that. Again, thanks for being here to our chamber members and to our non-chamber members. We are glad that we can share this information with everyone, all the business owners in the Gorge. So I'm going to let Dylan start, because he has a call at 1:30. And so he can jump off, and then we will let Greg do his presentation. And then Greg, I made you a co-host and I made Dylan a co-host in case you guys want to share anything. If you don't want to, that's okay. I just did that so you're ready to do that whenever you need to. But Dylan, if you want to start, I think you're muted.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Let me speak today. There's a lot of small businesses. Everybody's kind of in angst, a little panic going on. And as you probably can imagine, every small business in America who has 500 employees or less is trying to figure out what to do next while we're still in the middle of this COVID-19 kind of crisis. At the bank level, I can only really speak for the bank that I work for, KeyBank. That's what I have current information on. I can speak to the industry a little bit, but as most of you probably heard, that the Payroll Protection Program funds have been fully depleted. And so what that really means was the first round of funding was about $349 billion. And those have all been basically allocated for. That doesn't necessarily mean that all of those dollars are in everybody's bank account at this point, but they have all been spoken for. And the way that they get spoken for is when you apply for this payroll protection program through your bank. Once they approve you at the bank level, there's an electronic transmission system that gets your application sent directly to the Small Business Administration. And the Small Business Administration has that electronic portal open to all preferred SBA participating financial institutions. And so your file gets approved by your bank, and then you basically go into the SBA approval queue. And the SBA is working all of those applications electronically. And when they approve the application, they assign an SBA loan number to your application and then submit that back for approval to the financial institution that provided the application in the first place. And so once that SBA loan number has been assigned, the corresponding dollar amount that was requested and approved on that application, basically that money gets carved out and protected for that applicant or that small business, so that the bank can then work on fulfilling and funding that loan request. So the biggest and most important question that you should be asking your bank right now, if you have applied for a payroll protection program loan, ask your bank if you were able to successfully receive an SBA loan number, because that'll really be the ticket to determine whether or not you'll get funding on this loan. KeyBank and a lot of our partners in the industry were really looking to support the effort for additional funding to this program. There's been different talks about how much and if it gets approved, and there's numbers like maybe another 250 billion getting approved. That's a lot of there's a lot of talk going on. We don't have anything fully that's been approved, but from the applications that we took, about 90% of all the applications we were able to successfully get SBA loan numbers assigned. So we feel really good about that, because 9 out of 10 people that applied with us will get funding. But that doesn't mean that it's not hard to communicate that to the other 10% that need it just as bad as everybody else. And that it's frustrating when you try to do everything that you can do to get money in the folks, hands for folks, and you're not successful. So to follow up with that, all those applications that we have that we weren't able to successfully get an SBA loan number assigned, we're keeping it on our books and basically keeping them in the same queue that they're already in, which means that if there is an order that allows for an additional funding round, that those people who already applied don't have to go through the whole process again. We'll just be able to pick up where we left off, be able to get the SBA loan number assigned to them, and then go straight to fulfillment. We don't have to take their application again. They don't have to go through the whole process. So if you talk to your bank and you find out that you didn't get an SBA loan number assigned to you and you're not going to get funding for this first round, the next question you'll want to ask them is, are you still taking applications, and is there anything that I can be doing as a small business or an applicant to kind of get in line and ready for if another round of funding does get approved, so that you can really be in a good position to make sure that you're able to secure funding on if there is a next round. So that's, I can speak a little bit to numbers. With KeyBank, we're like the 13th largest bank in the country. We're in 15 states. And as a bank, we took almost 40,000 applications and about 9 billion in funding requests. The report that I get is on a bank-wide scale, so it's kind of hard for me to drill down. But from what I did drill down to from Hood River, or our local market, I counted up so far about 142 businesses that applied through us directly, and about 112 of them have we've been able to secure funding from, of about $10 million just locally here in Hood River. That's just from one institution. So obviously most of all the banks were participating in this. So it's going to make a big impact and a big deal to put some dollars back into small businesses' hands and help us keep going forward. So it's not a perfect effort, but it's been a strong effort that's been put forth so far by every one of my peers in the industry. So like I said, it's not perfect, but we're proud of the work that we've been able to do so far. That's pretty much the biggest and most recent update that I have regarding the payroll protection program. But I'm happy to answer, well, I guess I'll say one other thing that might answer a couple other questions is, once you ask your bank if you did get a small business administration loan number assigned to you, the next question you're going to ask is, well, where's my money? How do I get my money? And why don't I have my money yet? One of the things that we've got this huge pipeline of all these approved loans, and we're funding them slowly but surely. The biggest challenge that we have is that with an SBA loan, the bank has to prove whoever the authorized officer of the company that was submitting the application on behalf of the business, we have to have corresponding business documents that shows that that individual has the legal right and ability to borrow on behalf of the company. And that's usually found, if you're an LLC, a lot of times in your operating agreement. If you're a corporation, it's a lot of times in your bylaws. If you're a nonprofit, sometimes there's a specific corporate resolution or meeting minutes that are passed that allows an executive director to borrow on behalf of the, so there's a lot of that documentation didn't get properly uploaded from applicants at the front end of it. So on the fulfillment side, we're having to go back to each individual company and ask for those documents. And once we get them, then we're able to send out DocuSign electronic loan documents and then get funding really quickly afterwards. But it's that follow-up piece that's slowing down our fulfillment process a little bit. But I mean, we're funding these as fast as we can with what we have, and reaching out to all the small businesses to make sure that we get the documents that we need to complete the process.
Okay. Does anybody, we have a small group here, so there's only about 20 people on the call. So if you guys have any questions, just unmute yourself and ask away.
Dylan, can I just confirm those numbers? It was 140 businesses that applied, 112 that secured, and 10 million in funding?
And that's just that's my Hood River Key Bank numbers. Yeah.
No, that's great. I really appreciate it. That's great information to have.
Hey, Dylan.
Hey.
Pat Graham here. How you doing?
Good, Pat. How are you?
Good. If somebody is with a bank that was not able to process the applications, can they still get an application through KeyBank?
We don't have a link or portal open or available to take more applications. We are saying that there's the know your customer process that has to be completed on the front end, which if you have a bank account with the bank that took PPP applications, that's kind of your first step of what you would want to do. If we get word that the second round of funding is approved, then we'll probably either have a link that we can send out directly, or it'll be available within our online banking like it was in the past for existing clients. So to answer your question, the answer is no. Just there isn't a way to continue to apply. However, for the ones that did apply, they're going to be in the queue already. They don't have to reapply. But for others that want the ability to apply, you'll want to talk to your bank directly about that, or you can open up an account at an institution that you feel like will be ready to take those if funding comes through again. Hopefully that answered your question.
So if we have people who have not applied, but their bank did not have the ability, or was it a limited capacity with the ability to take applications, then if they want to become a Key Bank and be prepared to be ready, they should do that now. If and when it opens.
Yeah, and I would say even your first step should be going back to your existing bank, because I mean, we only had our portal open really for about 7 days, and April 4th was that Saturday that we opened it up, and we took applications through that following Friday, and we had so much volume that in order to secure those SBA loan numbers for everybody, we had to shut it off so that we could just work through who we got to be able to get them, and we were able to make 9 out of 10 businesses were able to, but there was 10% that didn't. So we've learned a lot through that process, and we're going to be in a maybe even better and stronger position if a second round of funding comes through. But that's the same case most likely for all of my peers. So, step one is ask your bank that if you weren't able to get your application in, or if you weren't able to secure funding, maybe they're in a much better and stronger position now that when funding comes through again, they will be able to process quicker than maybe they initially were able to. This was a huge, daunting task for anyone to take on from the finance. I mean, we had to build a digital portal in 7 days to take tens of thousands of applicants. I mean, it was just it was crazy. And it's never been done before. It's never been this high of a volume or high of a scale. So none of us were really as prepared as we wanted to be to have a smooth, and we've had some bumps and bruises along the way. I mean, it wasn't, like I said, perfect by any means. And so each day we're improving, we're doing more, we're learning more. And that's the case industry wide. So just because your bank wasn't able to do it for you the first time doesn't mean they wouldn't necessarily be able to do it the second time. But anyway,
And
hopefully that helps.
I do know there were some banks that were having some of the difficulties Dylan was talking about just in processing, but also there were banks, especially some of the smaller banks, that were having liquidity issues, in that the banks are obligated to fulfill those loans within 10 days. And a lot of the smaller banks didn't have the liquidity to meet the demand that was coming to them. And so that's why a number of, again, especially the smaller banks, had to stop processing loans so they could fulfill the loans that they had.
Yeah, so liquidity is a really big piece of it, like Greg mentioned. Another piece of it is just technology and infrastructure. I mean, when I had some of my peers in other states saying that other banks, I mean, they had the paper apps and they were like shuffling paper and trying to get as many. I mean, it's just, you cannot, I mean, if you're on the paper app stream, like, forget it. So that's another question that you can ask is, if my bank is processing these applications, how are they processing them? Do they have an electronic means of transmitting the data and the applications, or are they do they have a typewriter in the back and a pencil and paper? I mean, you know, it's just it can mean the difference of getting the deal done or not.
Yeah. Hey, Dylan, Judy says, I guess this is kind of, do you feel confident at all that there really is a chance for a second round? And when will we know? Days, weeks, months?
I think there are so many small businesses who didn't get the chance to apply and was not able to secure funding on this first round. And they're making a lot of noise and they're really upset, and it's not something that they can really continue a long-term path forward without getting that funding. And so the good news is I'm hoping that noise is loud enough to move Congress to want to continue to fund it as quick as, 7 to 10 days. But, that's a hope. That's not a promise or guarantee by any means.
To add to what Dylan is saying, there is a bill in the Senate right now that is being drafted, and they have earmarked a little over $200 billion for reappropriation in likely just the PPP program. But that's some of the things that are being considered. Is there's been a lot of recognition that this program is not efficient. It needs to move faster. There's a lot of people that are falling through the gaps, in particular smaller businesses, micro enterprises. So there are efforts being made to earmark some of this new funding in phase 4 for those people in particular. But this also has to pass the Senate with full consensus. So that's one of the issues in getting this moving forward, is it needs full approval, and that's one of the things holding it up. But it's pretty certain there will be some funds, and probably a significant amount. We're just not exactly sure what that's going to look like and exactly when it'll be here.
We were on a call earlier with somebody from Senator Wyden's office, and he felt like it would happen in the next day or so. That it's there, it's all written. They're just kind of arguing back and forth on a couple points, but.
Yeah.
So there, raise your hand if you like politics. I mean, that's kind of where we're at. So, but without it, it's hard to move forward, or there is no way to move forward. So,
and for
the ball's in that court.
For the couple people asking, I will talk about the EIDL once leverage Dylan's time here.
Yeah. Okay. If everybody's done with Dylan, he's got another call.
We're done with you, Dylan.
Thank you,
you.
Dylan.
Thanks for letting me be here.
Yeah,
Have a
happy
good day, guys.
Friday. See
All
ya.
right.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Okay. Greg, do you want me to read these or you want to read them?
Yeah, I'll just kind of jump into the presentation here, and I'll be able to answer those.
Okay.
So just kind of giving you a heads up of what I want to talk about. I will certainly be talking about the EIDL. I feel like we've got most things covered on the PPP, of course, if there's more questions. And then I'm going to go through a range of different things that you as a business owner can be thinking about that might be supportive in managing your business in these times. A lot of them are pretty fundamental or may seem pretty obvious, but it's good, again, just to be thinking about this and ask these important questions, and then hopefully bring them to light if it's a blind spot for you. But for the EIDL, the EIDL is, of course, it's a loan and a grant. And the SBA, of course, shut that one down too. That one is out of funds as well. It's not clear if the EIDL will get refunded if there's new appropriation of funds. Right now, it's seeming more like it'll just be the PPP, but we don't know that for sure. If you have already applied for the EIDL, they are processing those loans on a first come, first serve in the order that they were received. There's no telling exactly where that cutoff line is or where it's going to be. If you have a reference or a confirmation number that starts with a 3, then you're still in the queue, and you're encouraged just to wait and be patient, which I know is difficult. They are 3 to 5 weeks out, more closer to 4 or 5. We have seen a number of people funded, and Judy's just stating that she got her money.
No, somebody else.
Oh, great. That's
Somebody I knew.
someone, yes. And that was, yeah, almost a month ago. So we're starting to see some of that money come in now. The important things to note is, again, have that confirmation available. When they contact you, they will likely contact you by phone. So I know we don't like answering those unknown numbers, but that's likely what it'll be. And, excuse me, if you requested to be eligible for the EIDL grant or the advanced portion of that, that's just going to show up into your bank account. They're not going to call you, confirm it, or give you any heads up. No email. It's just going to show up in your banking account. So keep an eye on that. And again, that has changed in that they have capped it at $1,000 per employee, maximum of 10, and just $1,000 for self-employed and others. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see on that. As you may know, there were several iterations of that application process, and those ones that we're seeing funded now were actually the older application process. Mm-hmm. So that's good news in that they're still being funded as well. So is there any questions specific to the EIDL? Did that answer it? I know that, again, there's no way to check on the process or where you're at in that application. All they have right now is a hotline. The hotline wait times are a lot shorter, and you can get through to somebody, but they're really designed more for a help hotline to answer general questions versus specific ones to your loan application. So right now it's just a kind of wait and see thing. So I know that's frustrating and probably not what you want to hear, but hopefully we'll start seeing some of that money come soon. For those of you who don't know, by the way, I'm Greg Price. I'm the director of the Small Business Development Center at the Columbia Gorge Community College. thank you, Kate, for setting this up. The Chamber of Commerce has done just such an amazing job, has been so proactive and well-informed and supportive. And if you are not a member, please join when you're able to. We know times are tight and people are looking to cut costs, and that's some of what we're going to talk about today. So a little bit about the SBDC, and I know most of you know this, but I have to go through some of this. We're a statewide network. We have 19 different centers across the state. Most of our services are free. Almost all of them are free. So a lot of what we do is one-on-one advising. It's really easy to do. Go to this link, go to our website, bizcenter.org, and find your center, register with us, and we are there to support you in your business development, and we will meet you wherever you're at and provide whatever services we can. So please reach out to us if you need our support. So we did most of the updates here. I think that covers it all. There was one thing I did want to mention, that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce has just opened up a new grant. It's for small businesses. It's a $5,000 grant. They don't have a lot of information in terms of reporting and what that grant can be used for. It'll likely be very similar to the EIDL in terms of it's really going to be focused on your operation cost and likely will include payroll as well. It's designed to be very broad. There's a link here, savessmallbusiness.com. You can go there and get some information about it. It is designed for regions that are economically depressed, and fortunately or unfortunately, our region qualifies for that. So you are all eligible as small business owners. It is similar to the EIDL. It is first come, first serve, applications processed in the order they're received. It opens for applications April 20th at noon. So put that in your calendar, set an alarm, and be ready to apply. Have all your information. They're going to ask for W-9s, income and expense information. So have that all ready and at hand to apply for that. So the first thing I want to talk about is some cash management strategies. One of the good things that all of these federal programs, certainly the PPP, has led to is we have had to go through our financials. We've had to update them. We've had to work with our CPA or financial advisors in some respect and have all this information available. And it's so crucial that not only do you have your balance sheet, income statements, those informations that show where you're at now and where you have been over the last year, but also start working on projections. Putting cash flow projections together. It's a really good idea to do a full year, month by month cash flow projection. This is just really, really important to know where you're at and where you're going to be at, especially with these new funding streams with loans coming in and how those are going to impact what your needs are going to be. And it's also not a bad idea to do multiple scenarios. Do a worst case scenario. What if you get full funded? What if the EIDL comes in and you get half of your income in terms of a loan, which is how they're calculating those. So what is that going to look like in terms of your cash flow and what you're going to be able to afford now and 12 months from now? What's it going to look like if you don't get that? What is it going to look like if you're open for operations in June, or it's not going to be until August? Those are the different scenarios that you really need to take the time and build out those budgets. And if you need help doing that, that's what we're here for. We will help you build those spreadsheets. We have them. We have the templates. We're happy to give them to you if you don't have them, or just to save you the time. And it's really important, as I'm sure you're all learning going through this, to, one, communicate with your CPA, your tax advisors, but don't rely on them to tell you where your business is at. That's not their job. Their job is to track your data and to provide those financial data to you. But they don't know the ins and outs of your business. They're certainly valuable and can give you good perspective, but it's really important that you're not relying on them to tell you where you're at and what you're going to need. And please reach out to us if you do need support in doing that. Being proactive, develop a strategy. I know that a lot of small businesses, it's hard to step back from the day-to-day management and put time into this kind of stuff, but it really does help to put this stuff on paper and build a strategy and know exactly how you're going to implement it. And the old adage of working on your business and not in your business. And for small businesses, that's a really hard thing to do, especially when we have to cut our payroll, cut employees back. And that's one of the first things we have to look at. We have to look at payroll. It's usually the biggest expense for small businesses. And it's important to determine those critical roles, who you need to keep. And that's going back to the cash flow statement. And those projections can help you determine who you might be able to keep on and who you might not. If you're getting that PPP funding, you need to bring all your people back on by June 30th, and often even before, so you're getting those expenses incurred during that 8-week period. And an important note about that is that those eligible expenses during that 8-week period need to be incurred in that 8-week period. So for example, if your 8-week period runs out, let's say in June 10th, but your payroll isn't until June 15th, even though they worked that last month, you as a business don't incur that cost until June 15th. So those won't get fully covered in that 8-week forgiveness period. So that might require a little bit of strategy, a little bit of maybe switch temporarily to paying every other week or a weekly payroll. Same with some of your utilities. You really want to make sure that you're incurring those costs to the greatest extent possible during that 8 weeks. Consider role consolidation or cross-training with your employees. If we do have to make these cutbacks, how can we get several of our employees to do work that many have been doing? And really understanding your unemployment benefits. I know this has been really difficult for people because it's been changing. There are new temporary COVID unemployment rules. I do have a document that outlines those. I can share that with Kate if she doesn't have them, and she can pass those along. They're all pretty straightforward, but of course they do vary on industry, and we need to be in compliance with both the state and regional requirements when it comes to COVID. And there's some issues in terms of bringing employees back. If you offer them the job back, they have to come, assuming that they have a safe environment to come back to work. They can't tell you, well, I have unemployment now and I get an extra $600 a week on top of what my normal unemployment was. So I'd rather do that. Well, that's not an option for them if they have a job offer to come back to them. They can't keep their unemployment. But if they have someone who's sick, if they have mandatory quarantine, if they do not have access to childcare, these are eligible reasons for them not to come back to work. And again, I'll provide some guidelines on those for you. And just know those benefits and know that there's those resources out there for your employees. I know it's usually the last thing you want to do, but if we're not being proactive about that, then there might not be a business for them to come back to and have those jobs. So there's those hard choices you have to make. And there's also a lot of incentives out there that you would not be eligible for if you did not get the PPP, or excuse me, if you did get the PPP. Meaning that if you got the PPP loan, you could not take the payroll retention tax credit. You can do it if you don't get it. So there are other incentives. The delay in tax payroll taxes, etc. And there's a number of others that if you didn't get to get that loan, you can leverage some of these other incentives. And it's important to keep in mind, there's an estimated $4 trillion in need for small businesses for just the PPP program. And so even if it is refunded, there's going to be a lot of people who don't get it. And so knowing some of these other programs can be really beneficial. The WorkShare program I know has worked for a lot of people that need to bring people on or can't afford to bring them on full time. And so that allows you to bring them on, keep them on full time, but not pay them full time. And they'll cover that cost anywhere from 20 to 40%. You do have to have a cutback of at least 20%, no more than 40, and you have to have 3 people in your staff to be eligible for that. But it can be a really great program. Mike Scroggs is head of the rapid response team, and that's for you as an employer to get information if you need it relevant to COVID or in general, so you know that you are providing the best information to your employees as possible and making those hard choices with them in mind. So more with cash management, prioritize, and often this stuff lives in our head, but it can be really valuable to get this on paper and really determine who you're going to pay first and understand why, and make sure that you're addressing those areas where you have costs that are getting out of line. And review those customer accounts, go through them and make sure that you have solid credit policies in place, write them down, communicate them, not just internally, but also externally. Because these, often we assume our team knows about all of these, and often they don't. And sharing them with your customers can be really valuable for a lot of them. Sell unproductive assets now. Consider taking a loss on them if it means improving your cash flow. That's not always a good strategy, but something to consider if you're in a desperate position. And make sure you're reviewing your insurance policies, coverage terms. Know that this is a risk management strategy, not risk absorption. So review those, leverage what you can, and make sure it's not a cost that you're incurring with no return. So just as we were reviewing our customer accounts, review the accounts receivables and prioritize those. No one wants to be a bill collector, but sometimes when everybody's getting the same advice to hoard cash, and which you're hearing here, sometimes you need to be real proactive and communicate with your clients, your customers, on your needs and their responsibilities as well. But of course, be respectful and preserve those accounts. But it can also be an opportunity to be flexible, be innovative, offer cash discounts, lump sum payments for slower pays, or monthly payment options. Consider cash on upfront or on delivery, prepayments for those problem customers or slower customers, and make sure that we're talking to our vendors. Negotiate terms, partial payments, longer terms. They're struggling as well, and I wouldn't recommend just being a strict opportunist, but take advantage of that position, your position as a purchaser, and that purchase power that you have, and know that vendors are looking to negotiate as well to support their business. So that's something that you can certainly leverage. Make sure this, of course, is coming up a lot. Talk to your lenders. A lot of them are offering deferrals on contract extensions, or re-amortizing existing loans so you can lower your monthly payments. I know right now it's hard to get through to a lot of our lenders, but hopefully, if that's the case for you, their workload will reduce a little bit and you'll be able to get through to them. And of course, they're going to be interested in supporting you. And a lot of them have these policies in place in terms of mortgage deferral and things like that. Something about the PPP I wanted to make sure that you all knew is that, of course, the PPP, you have 6 months of deferral, so you don't need to make payment for those 6 months. With the EIDL, you have 12 months of deferral, so you don't need to make those payments for 12 months. Also, the PPP can be sold onto the third market by your lenders. And so what that means for you is that they can sell this back to the SBA. And so they can convert this into a 7A loan or a traditional SBA loan. And so you can get longer terms. So you can get 15, 30-year terms, generally at 4% if it's going through the SBA on restructuring those loans. So that's something that, you know, you have 2 years to figure out, because that's when the loan is due. But keep that in the back of your mind, because that's something, if you're ending up with a significant chunk of money that you owe on that loan, you do have options. The Small Business Administration is providing debt relief. So if you do hold any of those loans through the SBA, you don't have to make payments for 6 months. They're covering it. It's not a deferment. They're making those payments for you. You don't need to apply. They're just there. This is the same if you go and apply for a new SBA loan. They are available. It's a different pot of money. Just because PPP and EIDL ran out doesn't mean you can't go and get a SBA loan. It's a different program. And that 6-month payment plan for disaster relief will apply to new loans as long as they're originated within 6 months of February 15th, I believe. So you have some time to go after and get that loan, and then you have 6 months of that paid for. So just keep that in mind. They do need to be an SBA certified lender, and they don't need to be a traditional bank. There are other institutions like community development, financial institutions, and others that do SBA lending. And they may be a better source right now, given how backlogged our banks are. Also, make sure you're connecting with local resources, MCED being the one for us. They are working through the Oregon Investment Board. Also, Business Oregon has a number of different loan programs, and I will share those along with links at the end of this. And they're really doing a lot of work to free up money for you as a small business owner. They're a little more targeted, and they're still a little more cumbersome, but there's money in those pots and they're available to you. Make sure that you're talking to your employees. Of course, make sure they know the new health and safety guidelines. This is really important, especially for ones coming back to work. They need reassurance. They need to know safety instruments, equipment, practices, and policies are put in place, and they know exactly what those are. And that's going to be really, really important, because if they feel like it's not, they do have the ability to tell the unemployment office that it's unsafe. They have to verify that, but you'd rather not go there, right? So just make sure that you're taking those steps. And this is the same with your customers. Be proactive in communicating where you're at, what policies have changed, how you're doing business under these new operating circumstances, and make sure that you're being realistic about that, both with you and your clients and customers. Talk to your industry colleagues. The chamber is such a great outlet for this. It is the best. You have a whole list of proactive, interested, and engaged peers that can support you, that can help you not recreate the wheel on a lot of this stuff. They're already working on these same problems, and they may have identified issues that you haven't yet that you're going to come across. So get out in front of that, work with your trade organization, and make sure you're talking to your community at large and keeping them informed on what's changing for you. Pricing and cost containment. Evaluate your pricing strategy. And when you do this, make sure you really know your margins, because it's really, you can't make informed pricing strategy without knowing what your margins are. And that can be a laborsome task if you have not done it already, it's a lot of data crunching in for some businesses. Please use us to help you if you need it. Know your value propositions. Why are your customers buying from you? What makes you different? Write those out. That's your mission statement. That's something that can go on your website as a call to action, and share those with people. And that's going to help inform you to where your customers are at and why they're choosing you. And remember, it always costs less to keep a customer than to gain a new one. So work on your employee retention strategies. We certainly might have new opportunities, just as we're facing a lot of challenges and risks. Every time that comes up, there's opportunity there. And just keep in mind how that can be leveraged with your existing employees, or excuse me, your existing customers. Also, use those customers as your sales agents, as your reps, as deferrals. Same with your employees. Everyone can be acting as a salesperson for your company, even if it's in small ways. I know in a lot of the companies I worked for, it was way more effective to have one of my customers go and recommend our services versus me or one of my sales team. It's always better. It's the cheapest and most effective marketing that you can get. So think about how you can leverage that. How can you leverage those key accounts to support you? And you might be able to find ways to incentivize them to do so. And that can be very mutually beneficial. And look at ways that you can improve what you're doing. Process improvement, lean management, incentives, technology. And know that when you're going through your income statements, your profit and loss, etc., make sure that every expense on that list you can tie a value to. And if you can't quantify it, reconsider it. Think really hard about that money and why you're spending it. Because if you can't make sense of it and you can't justify it, can't quantify the return, then maybe it's something that you can cut back or eliminate. And it might just be temporary, and that's okay. Reduce unnecessary costs. This seems like an obvious one, but if you don't go through your balance statement, your income statement, etc., they might not pop out at you. You might not see a lot of those expenses. Review those personnel requirements. We talked a little bit about that. Can work be divided among other employees? Can we consolidate, use part-time, etc.? One thing we don't want to do, especially in small business, is try to compete on price, panic, and start giving discounts, etc. There's good ways to provide incentives. There's good ways to try and compete there, but small businesses rarely ever win by slashing their prices and being the low margin competitor. So we need to work on other innovative ways. Look to your competitors, and this is not an intuitive one. Your competitors are struggling as well. And there may be partnership there. There may be collaboration. There may be shared workspace, rent space, other costs. Maybe you can consolidate purchasing to leverage your purchasing power with your vendors and get lower costs. So something to consider that might not be an intuitive one. And again, negotiate with those vendors whenever possible, and see what kind of terms they're willing to come up with. Make sure that you're reviewing your inventory, and this may be a yearly thing, a 6-month thing, but in these type of scenarios, in these circumstances, you should be doing them more regularly. Do them now, and do them regularly. And consider adding new items or items that turn around quicker just to support your cash flow. So with marketing, have a plan. With a lot of small businesses, they don't always formalize their plan, but it can be really helpful to write these down and rethink your strategy. We're in a new market, and go back to those value propositions and start there. That's where you should start your marketing plan. Work around those and know before you spend, before you put any money into your marketing, know how it's going to impact your business. Don't just assume. You need to understand the value that is bringing to your customer. even if it's time that you're spending on social media, because that's opportunity cost. Identify your key markets and consider focusing on specialty or niche markets, and look for those new opportunities in adding revenue stream, both in products and services, and potentially look at redistributing your market expenditures and really stay away from contracts, especially long-term ones, unless you know the value that they add. And a lot of service providers right now are being more flexible than ever in what they're offering. And communicate what that plan is to your customer base. And right now, everybody is online. They can't go out and they can't see your storefront so much. So time to upgrade your digital presence. If it's not in your wheelhouse, work with someone that it is in your wheelhouse. Come to us and we can support you. Often it's very cheap marketing and something that we really highly recommend focusing a lot on. And there's a lot of ways to go about it. So you might be doing it well right now. That doesn't mean that you can't improve. And having a third-party perspective come in and do an audit or review or some consultation can be really, really valuable. So I'm just going to breeze through some of the business technology that might help. I'm a big fan of CRM tools, customer relationship management. Nowadays, they've gotten a lot cheaper, a lot user-friendly. So even if you're a one-man show, one-woman show, you can still leverage these. They make a lot of sense. They integrate into all aspects of your business, your communications, your sales tools, your financing, your management, etc. They can integrate to your calendar, to your Outlook, to your phone lines. There's so many ways that you can leverage this, streamline and simplify your communication and track all of that data and have great tools in being able to show those important key metrics, those key performance indicators that often we as small business owners just assume. And this can really be a great tool. I've used all of these besides HubSpot. And Salesforce is a little expensive, a little more involved. SalesMate and Nutshell are a lot easier. They're as cheap as $20 a month to use. Most of you are all familiar with a lot of these social media programs. Never mind. So MailChimp, Constant Contact, and SurveyMonkey, they're great. They can really help manage your contacts. SurveyMonkey, I think a lot of businesses overlook it, but it can be a great way to know what your clients need and get that information directly from them and not just assume what it is they need. And then, of course, track what people are spending their time viewing. Right now, there's so many new point of sale systems, so many that are very easy to use, very cheap, and your point of sale system should be giving you sales reports, providing customer, employee, and inventory management, and really be able to integrate across your business, including into your financial management software. Same with a lot of the way you're processing payments. There's a whole new suite of these programs now, PayPal, Venmo, Skrill, etc. And most of these, well, all of these are hand-free. So when you have people who are worried about touching screens and handling cash or even credit cards, even if they're coming to your place of business, they can still use these and not touch anything. So just bear that in mind. They can really be an incentive for your clients to work with you. QuickBooks is fantastic, and they provide programs for all of these: CRMs, data management, and point of sales, as well as payment processing. We're all quickly becoming experts in virtual meeting. I can now just defer to Kate, as she knows all of this stuff by heart now. Zoom is great for webinars, teaching large groups. Uber is great for small teams. It's free. There's no downloading. It's great for first-time users. And then there's a whole list of others. And I would really encourage people, if you don't know, check them out. Go and try them yourself first before you send those links out to the rest of your team and your clients. see how they work, because they do have trade-offs. Internal communications like chat or Slack, Slack, Hangouts, Discord, Microsoft Team. A lot of people think that these are redundant. They're really not. They're not email. They're not instant messaging. They provide a lot more functionality for your company. They can save time. They can help you manage your data. They can keep your teams focused. So I use Slack. Our team uses Slack. I really like it. Something that I would really encourage you guys to look at. They're really valuable, and they're free, a lot of them. Most of these are free. And thank you, Steve, for bringing this one up. Set expectations and protocols around communication. Don't just assume everybody's going to know and everybody's going to do the same thing. If you have 2 people on your team, they're going to have 4 ways of doing it. So make sure that you're really taking the time to spell that out and everybody's on the same page doing things the same way, or else it will become valueless. Security, there's the virtual private networks. If you have to access your intranet, they're a must-have. Password managers, the iCloud keychains for browsers. Keep in mind those are for personal use. They're not for company or commercial use. You can use them that way, but you should really have a professional program for that. And make sure you have someone that's in charge. Don't make everybody on your team in charge for personal security and cybersecurity. That is just a really bad plan. So take charge of that if it's you, or allocate that or delegate that to someone else, and make sure someone is in charge and that they know the rules of engagement. Check shared permission on files. Make sure that it's not just a link that, you might just be sending it out to your team, but if someone else gets that link, they can access that file if you've not restricted permission. And never be sharing passwords and usernames and threads. And if your employees are using personal computers, make sure they're creating separate accounts, usernames, and keeping those files separate. And that's same with your files and accessibility, whether using Google Docs, G Suite, Dropbox, they need to be all separate. Enterprise resourcing software, since we're running out of time, just look into it. Especially large organizations, it can be really helpful. And they've designed these more for smaller companies now, especially the NetSuite's, QuickBooks, SysPro, and Epicor, and Xero. They can really help in managing, especially if you have larger systems to do. Some other strategies: take advantage of this downtime. Look at employee training, implement some of these technology upgrades, do market research, reconcile your books, design products, look at new development, take time to do the employee handbook that you have been putting off for so long because no one likes doing that. New rules, policies, procedures, spell those out. Paint, clean, improve, capital improvements, especially the ones that don't cost much. Really take advantage of this time, especially if you have a brick and mortar place that usually has customers but doesn't now. Briefly, I'm just going to go through this. There's a lot of tax incentives. Talk to your CPA, your tax advisor about them. Make sure that you're getting third-party support. It's always good to have someone looking over your shoulder, even if they're not a professional. We all have blind spots, and you need someone else to help identify those. The Small Business Legal Clinic is awesome if you are of lower income. It's a fantastic tool, a resource, 10 hours of legal counsel for $25. I did provide a link to apply for that. It's just fantastic. It's only for rural Oregon businesses. And Commerce for Good now has some support, especially for tech companies in your website development and a number of others that you can be taking advantage of. And finally, make sure you're taking care of yourself. Practice self-care. If you aren't healthy, then you can't have a healthy company. So do what you need to do. Support your employees in doing the same. get outside, take care of your family, etc. Your business can't survive if you aren't taking care of yourself. So that's it. I've got some links here, some other information in this that I will share with Kate, and she can pass.
Where'd he go? Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Is he gone?
I don't know. He'll probably be back.
I think there he is. I was like, where'd he go?
Come back.
Where'd you go?
My apologies. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Not going to do that. Time's up, guys. I'm out of here.
I know, we were like, bye. Hey, Peter had a question. What is the impact to employees and their unemployment of bringing people back on and then the businesses not being able to cover that level of payroll after June 30th?
Right now, there's no written policy in terms of the SBA since there isn't, if you have to lay them off at that time, then you have to do what's best for your business. It won't impact your PPA in terms of that fund and managing it. Does that answer the question, you think, Kate?
I don't know. Where's Peter? Peter? Yes?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And they will issue further guidance if it comes to that, but they also can't retroactively change the agreement of that loan. So hopefully that won't come to pass.
Hopefully we'll be back and kind of up and running by then,
Yeah.
and that won't be an issue.
I hope so.
And I know, hey, and I just wanted to say to you guys that there is some kind of light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, like a very, very small pinhole of light. But, we were on a call. I was on a call yesterday with the Oregon State Chamber of Commerce and also on the call with the county. I'm on the county call every Monday and Thursday where people, and just so you know, the conversations now are about recovery. Like, how do we get back online? Like, we are talking about those things. And, we are on that bi-state group. Greg and I both are, and we have a call that came through while we were on this call that at 8 a.m. on Monday morning to talk about what that looks like for us and how do we get back online. And so there is plans to do that and to talk about that. And the more that I know, I will share with you. So next week, be, ready to be on calls again about how do we start to get back online? What does that mean for this community? So it's starting to happen.
Yeah.
So we don't know what that looks like at all, but the conversations are happening at every level, at the state level, federal, state, and local level.
Kate, I want to get to Matt's question real quick, and then I have to go. I have a 2 o'clock that I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. Matt asks for a self-employed sole proprietor, how best can work with both unemployment insurance and the PPP. So you can't take unemployment and still be in work, obviously. But ultimately, you want, within those 8 weeks from when your loan is originated, you want to be capturing those expenses. Even as a self-employed, and I know you probably won't have as many as you normally do, but that's going to determine how much is forgiven. So it's going to really be in your best interest to get back and incur as many of those expenses as you can, so you can write that off on your forgivable portion. That might be where, you need to do some of that cash flow projection, because, it might make more sense to stay unemployed and just write off your other expenses in terms of what can be forgiven if you have no income at all coming in. So that might require a little bit of calculation to determine which is the best course of action to stay on and just leverage your eligible expenses on the PPP, or come back to work and go off unemployment and generate as much as you can during that period. So I hope that helps.
I've already put in tons of hours that are non-accounted for, doing all sorts of work that aren't being paid.
Okay.
Does that count toward the PPP, or can I collect unemployment up until the end of the 8 weeks and then just pay myself that that seventh week of the PPP and count that as salary?
As long as that's a cost that you're incurring right up to the end. Yeah.
So do you understand, like, say there's 8 week window, I take unemployment for 7 weeks, that 8th week I don't take unemployment, and you take all that's been given to me by the PPP, or they just,
that's a interesting question, and Matt, I don't know for sure, but I know who to ask.
Okay.
So let me find out for you. I know exactly who to ask on that, and I can get back to you.
Okay, great.
I have to sign off.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you do have other questions, please feel free to send them my way. I'll send some of the attachments I talked about to Kate, and she can get those to you.
Okay. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Do you guys have anything for me? Anything I can do for you?
Can you just give me Greg's email? Give us Greg's email rather than go looking for it.
I think I can. Let me ask him first.
It was on a presentation before, but I don't remember which one.
Well, there's not that many of you, so yeah. If there were 50 of you, I'd say no. I mean, just because you know how that is. It's like, really? Do you want me to give your email away or not? It is.
I'm going to post it right now.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah. gprice@cgcc.edu.
Yeah. There might be two.
Oh, is this the one he gave you?
He's, I think, gotten both.
Matt, I'm not seeing yours. Did you post it to everybody or just Kate?
No, he posted it to everybody. I can see it.
There it is.
Yeah, and I'm going to post the other one, his personal one. Here we go.
Yeah,
Price. There it is. Okay.
that's the one I have.
G. Price. Okay. Thanks.
Yes, just so you guys know. So I had a conversation yesterday with Oregon State Chamber of Commerce, and they were talking about, and I'm thinking about doing this, we're going to have a call on Monday, or state call on Monday, so I think I'll get some more direction, but there are some chambers that we're going to have like a small group, kind of like round table, to start asking those questions about, like, what is it going to take to get everybody back online? And then there were some really good suggestions about how do you, as industry segments, because what retail needs is not what restaurant needs, so they're just, you all have very different needs on how to get back online. And so maybe we break those down by segment and start to get the different industries kind of back. So you don't have to wait on restaurants to come up if restaurants are going to be a little bit longer if you're in retail. We're also talking about, we had a good idea from one of our members, Allie McLaughlin. She has been talking to the health department, and now I'm going to get involved with the health department and do something that's like, makes us like COVID-19 certified. So there's some sort of certification that you guys can get to show that you're certified and that you're doing all the right things. And then maybe we make a list of those businesses and then post them on our website. So there's like a one-stop shop for people to go to see who's certified and who's not. Because I think there's a comfort, people want to know that businesses are doing the right thing. Are they safe if you're coming in? So we're working on that. I'm also trying to secure a sponsor or some sort of sponsor for, there's this marketplace, which is like, would be like a local mall. So we could host that on our website, and you guys could either attach your websites to our website, and then what would happen is people could buy things directly from you, and then it would go directly to your account. Like there's no pass through, it just goes directly to your account to just start to get some cash flow. And then in the future it would just always be there, so that would be a really great benefit. I'm also working with our foundation. I'm trying to get some donors so we could do maybe a small grant program through the Chamber Foundation. So just a lot of different things that we're working on, just so you guys are aware, to just try to get you guys some support. And thanks for hanging in there, and just let me know what we can do. That's what we're here for.
Thanks for everything you've done, Kate.
You're
been
welcome. You're welcome.
That's been awesome.
Okay.
All
Well,
right, we're gonna go open a tap house. Well,
yay.
for curbside anyway.
Yeah,
Not
if anybody
really.
needs any beer, go see
Get a wine
Lorraine.
cider. I still
Yeah.
have the wine.
Oh yeah, wine. I love that wine. I should come get some tonight. What time do you open? 3?
3 to 6.
Okay. All right.
Bye,
Thank you,
everybody.
guys. Have a great weekend. See
you.
you next week.
Bye.
Oh wait, Jenny, what are you saying?
Oh, it's just Leith saying thank you.
Oh, thank you. And then Jenny, what were you saying?
Oh, this was for the tap house. We should do book and beer pairings since we're close
Oh,
to
did
each
she
other.
leave? You need to talk to her, Jenny, because she yesterday talked to me for a long time about like who could she pair up with, and you know what I mean?
Okay.
Like we were trying to, so get in touch with her because she would totally be down for that.
Okay, we're open, so it's not a
Yeah.
problem.
Oh, that's fun. And you're right next door.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Oh, and this is recorded, and we'll post it on our YouTube channel. So if you guys have any questions, let me know.
Hey, Kate.
Hey, yeah.
It's Peter.
Hi,
I
Peter.
don't know how to get on your list. So when
Which
Chris
list?
was where the notices are sent from, say what Greg was mentioning, that he was posting links. I don't know how to go find those.
I know he kept saying that, and I didn't see anything either. I don't know. Did he think he was showing us a PowerPoint or something? I'm not sure. I'll circle back with him, and then I can send that out to you guys. I have all your
Okay.
email addresses.
Okay.
Okay. And hey,
Thank
and
you.
if you don't get something from me that you want, just email me and I'll get it to you.
Yeah. I'm really interested in this strategy of certification through the county health
Yeah,
department.
it's cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Um,
Do you have any more details on that?
I don't. One of our members has been working on it herself, and I think it's just gotten a little bigger than what she can take on. And so I had a conversation with her this morning and just said, why don't you let the chamber take this on? So I am it sounds like they've made some segue. I don't really know. I'm not totally in the loop. So I'll find out. But as soon as I find out, then I'll get that stuff out to you guys.
Okay, well, I'm down in Benton County, and I'd like to make sure that there's an initiative happening here that's
Yeah.
pursuing those same goals.
Yeah, it was a great idea. And everybody that was on the call was like, oh my God, it's a great idea. So if it's something that we can do, it is something that we should share with the state.
Yeah,
And we would be doing
So
that. So
I'm ready to pull on that, or if there's some way I can get connected to people who are working on that.
okay. All right. Thank you.
All right,
Okay. Talk to you guys soon.
thank you.
How are you, Maddie?
I'm doing okay.
Good. Just
Yep.
checking in to see if anybody, Linda, do you have any questions? I know you had written a couple. Are you there, Linda? Yep, there she is.
Did maybe.
Linda, you were muted. Did you have questions?
Okay, yeah. I have a zillion questions,
I
but
know you do.
I don't even know who to ask.
Okay. Well, you want to stay on with me and ask me?
I can. I am looking at some MEC
McCad?
loans,
Yep.
and I need to get my apps in there.
Okay.
But I'm guessing that they've decided that my loan has been just thrown out or something. I don't know.
For what? For the EIDL loan?
Yes.
Yeah, if you did not receive a confirmation number on that, I would not depend on that. I would start looking for other funding.
Yeah, well, definitely I'm doing that. And
Yeah.
but you know, what did I do wrong?
You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do
Yeah.
anything wrong. You just probably didn't. I don't know. I mean, you filled it out and you got no email back?
Absolutely nothing.
Then it must not have gone through. When did you fill it out?
On the 3rd, actually, it showed that it went through
Okay.
the Small Business Association.
Okay.
But whether they managed to get it forwarded to whoever's going to make the decision, if there's no money left anyways, I guess
Well, so tell me something. Did you work with Greg Price and his team at the SBDC on filling out that application?
yes.
Okay. So they did that for you.
No, they had me do it because they didn't want to see my answers.
Okay. So when you pushed submit, you never received a confirmation?
Absolutely nothing. Yeah.
Because from the people that I have talked to that received funding, they got a confirmation email back that gave them a confirmation number. And
right away when they applied?
no, I don't think it was right away when they applied. I can find out.
Yeah.
But I would, Linda, you need to get back in touch with the SBDC.
Okay.
I would circle back to them and, and have them help you on maybe some other funding streams. And MCED is a good option.
Yeah. Well, Greg sat in on the call.
Yeah.
With one of his workers, and I can't remember what his
Rose. Was it a guy or a girl?
Guy.
Yeah, I don't know. The only other person I know that works there is Rose.
Yeah.
You have his email address. Why don't you? Did you get his email address?
His email disappeared after we had our meeting.
Okay, I'm gonna give it to you.
I thought I would have it in my email records, but somehow it managed to disappear.
Okay, I'm gonna give it to you. Are you ready?
For Greg?
For his email
I
address.
got that.
Okay.
Because somebody posted it. Matthew Barman.
Yeah.
Posted it on here.
He did.
Yeah, Price at CGCC.
Yeah. So I would get back in touch with him and just say, I never received a confirmation back from the SBA from my EIDL loan. So I'm assuming that I'm probably not going to be funded. What do I do now?
Okay.
And that's what I would do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's going to be hard few months ahead of us.
I know. It really is for all of us. I get it.
Thank you.
Hey, Linda, thank you. And please reach out to me if you need anything, and I'm happy to help. But I think Greg, and his team, they're the best suited to just try to, give you some individual advice on what routes to take.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Hang in there.
All right. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Thanks for all your work on all of this.
You're welcome.
The chamber rocks.
Oh, thank you. We're not done. We got a lot more to do, don't we?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
we'll be here the whole time. Just stay tuned.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Linda.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I see there's 2 more people on the call. Do you guys have any questions? Are you here? I unmuted you. And I'm not sure how to say your name. Hello? Okay, I'm gonna go.